जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी 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 गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपद 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 निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। His Divine Grace श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Before starting today's reading, we'll chant prayers for Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Sushrusho Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchihi Syanmahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevana Shunmatam Swakatah Krishna Punyashravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Hiyapadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalo Vadayaschaye Chetaye Tairana Viddam Stitam Satte Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Grandis Sarva Samshayah Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Drushta Eva Atmanishware. Hare Krishna devotees, thank you for joining again for today morning's Bhagavatam reading. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 10, Text 4. Chapter 10 titled in Divisions of
3 and 4,
Creation.
right, Prabhu?
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's 3 and 4 actually. Yep, 3 and 4. Yeah, and chapter 10 titled 10 Types of Creation. So, I think the chapter title is number is also apt, 10 Types of Creation, and the chapter is also 10th chapter. So, text 3. Suta Uvacha Evam Sanchotidastena Kshatra Kaushara Virmunihi Prita Pratyahatan Prashnan Hridistan Ata Bhargava Suta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditastena Kshatra Kaushara Virmunihi Prita Pratyahatan Prashnan Hridistan Ata Bhargava Suta Uvacha Evam Sanchoditastena Kshatra Kaushara Virmunihi Prita Pratyahtan Prashnan Hridistan Ata Bhargava. Synonyms. Suta Uvacha. Sri Suta Goswami said, Evam, thus, Sanchodita, being enlivened, Tena, by him, Kshatra, by Vidura, Kausaravi, the son of Kushara, Muni, great sage, Pritaha, being pleased, Pratyaha, replied, Tan, those, Prashnan, questions, Hrudistan, from the core of his heart, Ataha, thus, Bhargava, O son of Brigu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Suta Goswami said, O son of Brigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after another. Purport. The phrase Suta Uvacha, Suta Goswami said, appears to indicate a break in the discourse between Maharaja Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami. While Sukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, Suta Goswami was only one member of a large audience. But Suta Goswami was speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by the sage Shaunaka, a descendant of Sukadeva Goswami. This, however, does not make any substantial difference in the topics under discussion. Okay. So here, earlier text, in a way, the discussion between Maitreya Muni and Vidura, but actually, the discussion of Maitreya Muni and Vidura was discussed by Parikshit Maharaj, right? And Sukadeva Goswami, because it's originally their discussion. In their discussion, the discussion of Maitreya and Vidura comes. So now, outermost discussion that is happening in the Bhagavatam is Suta Goswami is discussing Bhagavatam with Saunakadi Rishis, right? So now it's kind of right now the discussion directly went to Suta Goswami here. So it's 2 levels up, you can say, the outermost discussion that is happening in Bhagavatam. So that's why it is said, Suta Goswami said. And Prabhupada says here, there was a pause in the discussion when between Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami. So that's why probably Srila Vasudev is mentioning here, Suta Goswami said, right? So and Prabhupada also mentions here that this, however, does not make any substantial difference in the topics under discussion. So the topic is still the same, that is creation that is happening of this material world. The Lord is creating with the help using Brahma as an instrument. So that topic is not changing. That's what Prabhupada says here. And I will read the translation one more for the continuation. O son of Brigu. It's interesting here. Bhargava means descendant of Brigu, I think. So, it's mentioning O son of Brigu is actually mentioning the Saunaka Rishi. And the great sage Maitreya Muni. Maitreya is actually mentioned in the text as Kushara. Yeah, Kausharava. So the son of Kushara. So he is addressed. He is addressed as. I don't know the history why Maitreya Muni is called as Kaushara. If anyone knows, we can discuss later. And also, interestingly, Vidura is mentioned as Kshatra in this verse. Prabhupada translates Tena by him, Kshatra by Vidura. The one important thing I want to mention here is like here The translation reads, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after the other. So yesterday, Gopal Hari Prabhu was discussing the uh, the request of Vidura. Actually, Vidura asked a lot of questions in chapter 4 and chapter 5. Later on, chapter 7 also, I think. A lot of questions, and majority of them questions form the content of the creation and creation of the different species, Varna, Ashrama, Dharma, and the activities of the three Vishnus, right? So there are so many questions that Vidura asks. And yesterday, two verses, Vidura he doesn't repeat all the questions. He just says that I want to hear everything from you again, right? So after the previous chapter, so for that discussion, what Vidura raised, the response of Maitreya Muni is that the first response is he felt very much enlivened. So because he's about to discuss the topics of Krishna, particularly the creation aspect, but he is still feeling so much enlivened that he is going to discuss the topics of creation, and he will be able to remember and chant the glories of the Lord. So that is why he felt very much enlightened. That shows that Maitreya Muni is pure devotee, and any discussion that happens between pure devotees, like in chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, it says, when devotees discuss the topics of the Lord, that's how they get enlivened. Tushanticha Ramanticha. When they discuss, they become happy, they become joyful, enlivened by each other's realizations. So, and with that, another detail here is everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after the another. So, all the questions Maitreya Muni did not forget. Everything was in his heart. So, is because in text 1 and 2, really Vidura did not repeat all the questions that he has asked previously. He just said, can you continue answering all my questions? So he did not repeat. So, but Maitreya Muni remembers all those questions that he was asked in the previous chapters, and he continues with the discussion of the creation, right? So we'll move on to the next text. 3:10.4. Maitreya Uvacha Virinchopi Tata Chakre Divyam Varsha Satam Tapaha Atmanyatmanamavesya Yataha Bhagavanajaha. Maitreya Uvacha Virinchopi Tata Chakre Divyam Varsha Satam Tapaha Atmanyatmanamavesya Yataha Bhagavanajaha. Synonyms. Maitreya Uvacha. The great sage Maitreya said, Virinchaha Brahma Api also Tata. In that manner, Chakre performed Divyam celestial Varsha Satam 100 years, Tapaha penances, Atmani unto the Lord, Atmanam his own self, Avesha engaging, Yataha as it was spoken, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Ajaha, the unborn. Translation and purport. The greatly learned sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, Brahma thus engaged himself in penances for 100 celestial years, as advised by personality of Godhead, and applied himself in devotional service to the Lord. Translation I will read one more time. The greatly learned sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, Brahma thus engaged himself in penances for 100 celestial years, as advised by the personality of Godhead, and applied himself in devotional service to the Lord. Purport: that Brahma engaged himself for the personality of Godhead, Narayana, means that he engaged himself in service of the Lord. That is the highest penance one can perform for any number of years. There is no retirement from such service, which is eternal and ever encouraging. It's a short purport. One line, actually. 2 lines. So, here, Maitreya Muni is continuing the creation aspect, and we learned from the previous chapter that the Lord, when he was pleased with Lord Brahma's initial penance, he appears and he gives also benediction again. So the benediction he gives is, he asks Brahma to continue meditate, right? At that place, he didn't mention how long he has to meditate, but it is clear from here that Brahma continued his meditation after the Lord disappears from his vision. So he does penances for 100 celestial years. Divyam Varsha Shatam. Shatam is 100, Varsha is years, Divyam, celestial. Because last time when we were discussing, it was not clear in that verse. It just says 100 years. It was not clear which 100 years. Prabhupada translates it as Brahma's 100 years. And Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, from other commentators, he says it is 100 earthly years, human years. So now here it is 100 celestial years. So that means after Lord appeared, he actually did penance for more time. So because 100 earthly years versus 100 celestial years, 100 celestial is obviously much more, I think, probably 1,000 times more. So, or 100 times more, I forgot that ratio. And Prabhupada takes this opportunity and he says that Brahma engaging himself for the personality of Godhead, meditating on the personality of Godhead, Narayana, means that he is doing the service and he is engaging in the devotional service. Actually, the verse that doesn't explicitly say any devotional service aspect. It just says Atmani Atmanam Avesha. He just engaged in his own self. How it is translated? Atmani means unto the Lord, Atmanam, his own self. Avesha, engaged. Right? So basically he's doing meditation on the Lord. And Prabhupada, in his translation, he says he's applied himself in devotional service to the Lord, and he expands in purport, saying that the highest penance one can perform for any number of years is that you just do the service for the Lord or meditate on the Lord. And he further goes on to say there is no retirement from such service, because that's what the pure devotees, realized devotees do. They always think of Krishna, engage in his thoughts, always in the meditation of Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada is saying here, there is no retirement from such service, which is eternal and ever encouraging. So apparently, after 100 celestial years meditating on the Lord, Brahma realizes the universal form, and he goes on to create the further, which comes in this very chapter itself, actually, the secondary creation, Visarga aspect comes. And the chapter title says it's 10 divisions of creation. Actually, there are, I'll just read from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's. There are actually 10 divisions of creation. There are 6 primary creation, which are covered in text 15 to 17. It is called Prakrita Sarga. And next, there are 4 types of secondary creation by Brahma, which is covered in text 18 to 29, which is called Visarga or Vaikrita. So Sarga is covered in 15 to 17, which is done by the Lord, basically giving the ingredients to the Lord Brahma, primary ingredients to Lord Brahma to create, and then Lord Brahma assembles those primary ingredients and he does the Visarga, which is explained in text 18 to 29. So I will just give those 6 primary ingredients that the Lord creates in the Sarga aspect. That is Mahat Tattva. The first one is Mahat Tattva. Second is Ahankara. Third one is Tanmatra, sense objects. Fourth one is Indriyas. Then fifth one is Devas, the demigods and the mind. And sixth one is Tamas, the ignorance. So these are the 6 primary ingredients that is required for the creation. So then once those primary ingredients are given by the Lord, then the 4 types of secondary creation is, first one is immovable jivas, that is plants. Brahma assembles those ingredients to create plants. And the next one is lower species, that is animals, second. The third one is human beings. The fourth one is demigods. So these are the 4 different categories of secondary creation that Brahma does in this chapter, at least. So this is what he realizes, and the creation happens. So that is a small detail what is going to come up. I just want to cover also in the previous chapters, actually there is more description, particularly I think in chapter 6, if I remember. Yeah, actually chapter 5, how these 6 primary creation, that is Mahat Tattva, Ahankara, how all those happens is explained in chapter 5. I will repeat a little bit because we have some time, so that it's for my benefit. Again, going one more repetition of how the creation happens. Apparently, I was hearing earlier Bhakti Vigyan Maharaja's lecture, not on this topic, some other topic. He mentions that the topic of creation itself comes 7 times in Canto 2 and Canto 3. I don't know exactly how he divides that and where and all it mentions, but 7 times it's repeated. That certainly Canto 2 has some aspects. Universal form was also described there, and again 3rd canto, but I could not exactly find why it is 7 times, but I'm sure it must be there 7 times in these 2 cantos. That is Sarga Visarga aspect, 7 times mentioned. And also he says that in 11th canto also it is repeated 2 times, the aspect of creation, right? And obviously in the 5th canto, it's not directly creation, but it's the positioning of the different planetary systems. So so that is in the 5th canto. So there is so much emphasis given for the aspect of creation, and it's repeated multiple times, and every time it's not the same. There is a slight variations, and some more details. Some details are given in one place, some other details are given in one place. So why so many times the creation topic is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam? Because ultimately Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to take us towards Krishna, which is the 10th topic of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Ashraya, which is Lord himself, Lord Krishna himself, which is elaborately given in 10th canto. But Prabhupada many times mentions that 10th canto one cannot directly appreciate Or if you directly jump, in fact, we actually misunderstand the 10th canto. And the way to go to understand 10th canto is gradually studying all other cantos before that, right? All other 9 topics mentioned in Bhagavatam, starting with Sarga, Visarga, then Poshanam, Sthanam, like that. There are 10 topics. So the primary topic, obviously, the central topic is Krishna, that is Ashraya. But in order to know Krishna, we have to learn all the other 9 topics. Right? And one of the starting topics is Sarga Visarga, right? So that is creation of this material world. And and I just want to mention why it is so important to know creation. There are many ways to look at it. One of the way is Ramapal Maharaj mentions, suppose if there is a room, okay, and the room has a door, and I know how I got into the room. So if I know how I got into the room, hopefully I know how to get out of the room, right? So like I know the doors that I came in to that particular room, so and I go opening those doors and go out of that room in a similar way. Right? So creation gives this clue that how out I came in to my being the way I'm living like right now here, how the creation happened, what are the elements that I'm formed of, and how those elements were created, right? So Israel gives some clues to my being and uh, how I got into this current situation. So if I know it thoroughly, hopefully I have a knowledge to go get out. So exactly the way I came here. So that's one of the reasons why creation is mentioned again and again. And the next topic is we will understand the greatness of the Lord. Otherwise, if we directly go to 10th canto, one can misunderstand the Lord as any other normal being, maybe with some more power. So doing all those pastimes with gopas, gopis, right? So there is a chance of misunderstanding. But when we know that behind the creation, at every step, there is a Lord's hand. It's not even direct, actually. It's indirectly he is doing. But at every step, his hand is there. Okay, his glance is there. So if you know that how great the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, then we'll have some conception that who, who is Krishna, how great Krishna is, and we will not misunderstand Krishna when we read 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, another aspect is this Bhaktivinoda Maharaj was telling that usually uh, uh, we can only experience or we can only know what we actually has previously experienced of having. Like, for example, uh, a person who never saw mango or doesn't know about mango, uh, even if we try to tell that person the mango is a king of the fruits, it's so tasty, he may not have a good clue. He may have he has to imagine that, yeah, there is some kind of a fruit is there, but he will not have that real concrete experience of what really a mango is. But a person who has actually tasted mango, he knows for sure what is a mango is and how good that mango fruit is, right? So in the similar way, Maharaj says that whatever we have previous experience of, we can only experience really that aspect clearly. Others which we don't have real experience, we cannot really see them right now. So where he's going with that thought is because right now, currently, we are in the material world, and most of our samskaras are the experiences, the past experiences, impressions that we have are of material nature, like what we see, what is in front of us, right? So basically the matter, to some extent, subtle matter, that also we have some intuition, the mind is there, intelligence is there, but we never, we have experience of it, but we never saw it in real sense, the way the yogi can see. But certainly the matter, the gross elements, we can see, we can perceive our body, others' bodies, all other objects we can perceive. So we have the experience of the impressions of all these different things. But in general, for majority of us, the experience of that spiritual nature we don't have, right? So, so then how do we go from knowing from what we have an experience of and to a place where what we don't have an experience of, just like the example of a mango, a person never saw the mango. Okay, so if we can somehow connect the things that we have, the experience of, the impressions that we have, to the one which we don't have the experience of, we can connect. So then we will have some attraction or some appreciation comes. Oh, the Lord probably looks like that. That's why universal form is very closely connected with the material nature, right? In fact, in a way, we are actually standing on the universal form. So we have the connection of the Lord in that sense, but it's very indirectly. But if we can see that connection, that what we have experience of day-to-day material nature, if we can connect with the Supreme Lord somehow, so then we'll have that connection, we'll establish that connection. With that connection, we can realize the Lord. So there is another reason why creation is mentioned so many times, so that we will be able to know the Lord through what we have experience of. So all this will be obviously will be comes in this chapter again, but this was in a way somehow covered. Like I was telling, this chapter, this creation topic is covered in 7 times. So I will just read what happened in the previous chapter 5. The Supreme Lord's glance on the sum total of the material energy, Maya, infuses it with time, destiny, and nature, swabhava of all jivas, thereby agitating it. So basically, originally, Karanadaga Sai Vishnu. This creation in 5th canto is by Karanadaga Sai Vishnu. Okay, it's Sarga. He creates the primary elements, which would become later on part of universal form, because universal form is contained in each separate universe, whereas Karanadaga Sai Vishnu creates many universes, right? So, but for all those many universes, again, we need the basic ingredients. So this 5th canto is of that creation is explained here. Initially, there is only pradhana, which is in a balanced state, right? Equilibrium state. It's like a completely mixed up. All the ingredients are mixed up, and none of them are separated, basically. But then when the Lord glances, and that glance, he contains 3 things, he says. That's the kala, time, and destiny, the karma of all the living entities, and the living entities themselves, along with their modes, swabhava. So he infuses all these 3 things in the womb of the material nature, that is pradhana, which is equilibrium. Now, when these 3 things go and hit the pradhana, that shakes, that disturbs the pradhana. right? It's like a cause vibration in a state of from the state of equilibrium, and that shakes it, and it becomes that produces the Mahatattva, right? So the Mahatattva happens. And what is this Mahatattva? That's very interesting. It is a state which, although has all three modes, is predominantly of goodness and passion due to the jnana and kriya shaktis. Actually, this Mahatattva has two divisions in it. One is Mahatattva itself, and another one is Sutra Tattva. Mahatattva is predominantly goodness, and Sutra Tattva is predominantly rajas. But both together they call it Mahatattva. So it's wording is a little confusing here. The Mahatattva itself is cause of the Jnana Shakti, and Sutra Tattva is the cause of Kriya Shakti. And further, so now Mahatattva, then next Mahatattva is this state further transforms into Ahankara. So Mahatattva, after again the glance of the Lord, it becomes Ahankara Tattva, which gives the Dravya Shakti, which is predominantly in tamas, ignorance. This state produces three energies called, again, this is second time Ahankara gets divided into three. Ahankara in touch with goodness, it becomes Jnana Shakti. Ahankara with the passion, it becomes Kriya Shakti. And Ahankara with the mode of ignorance, it becomes Dravya Shakti. So the Dravya Shakti has the capacity to produce 5 gross elements. Kriya Shakti produces senses, and Gnana Shakti produces senses and sense devatas basically. At each level of transformation, the Lord's energy in the form of time produces the subsequent rates of transformation. So this is what is explained in chapter 5. Little preview what is going to come up in this particular chapter again, right? So with that, I want to conclude today's 2 verses, text 3 and 4. So in text 3, Sutta Goswami is mentioning that to Shaunaka Rishi, that the great sage Maitreya Muni became enlivened when Vidura again reminded him of, please explain the aspect of all the creation and the rest of the questions that I asked in the previous chapters. With that, he became really happy. As we can understand, when devotees want to discuss Krishna Katha, they're joyful, especially pure devotees. And Maitreya Muni starts explaining that Brahma continued the instructions that he got. He has implemented the instructions that he has received from the Lord in the previous chapter. So he continued his meditation for 100 celestial years, and he realizes what he's supposed to do, and he actually does the creation. In this chapter itself, there are verses coming up which discusses about the primary creation and the secondary creation of this particular specific universe that Brahma does. And Prabhupada says that the meditation aspect and the work that Brahma is going to do is all part of the devotional service, because he is actually surrendered to the Lord Narayana, and he is implementing his instructions. So it's purely devotional service, and there is no end for devotional service. This is like eternal. With that, I will stop here, and if any other discussions are there, please, questions, corrections, as well. I'm sure I must have made so many mistakes. Please, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So I don't know this 5, not 5. You said 7, right? Yeah, 7 different places the uh, creation mentioned. I know we saw, I think, 2 or 3 times maybe in these 2 cantos. I mean, that's what I count it as. But I don't know why it is I mean, it's important that one need to know, but so many different perspectives or the different explanations are given for the even creation. Sometimes it's very confusing for the reader. But yeah, I mean, the essence is that, I mean, it's so variegated, and it's not like a one type of creation. Like, yeah, this is the how it will happen every time.
Yeah.
Happen at any different ways, because it's not happening one time, right? It is happening so many times. I mean, thousands, I mean, millions of times the creation is happening, right? Every time.
Yes.
So, yes, it's very. It's not like same thing. Yeah, Vishnu want to create everything, right? So it's like all different. Even the Brahma, right? So even like I think the other day we were discussing, right? So even the every day of Brahma, the maybe the universe might not exactly look like
Yeah.
as it was earlier. Be a lot of variation could be there. So that's why he was praying to the Vishnu to give that intelligence. So yeah, so many different explanations. And regarding the other thing, I mean, he was able to remember all the questions. I mean, I was keep getting this thing,
Yeah.
not only in this chapter. I mean, the questions is one thing, and also he was, I mean, Sukadeva Goswami, when he was explaining about the different, um, I mean, Manus are their dynasties are the kings in the later cantos. Oh
Yeah.
God, I mean, we can't remember even that same day what we read. Forget about same day. The previous verse we will not be able to remember.
Yeah.
I mean, tried. The previous verse, what I read, next verse, I don't even remember those names. But if he was not looking at a laptop and talking to,
Yeah.
no, it's very, I don't know. I mean, you can't even imagine that. So
Yes.
I was just, it's like not one or two, yeah, Krishna, it's so many
So
actually.
many questions actually. Yeah. Vidura asks.
Questions is one thing, bro. I mean, the generations I'm talking about,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The
Yes. Yeah.
kings, dynasties, it's too many actually, too many names. Not like
Yes.
one or two sons.
Yes.
Seven sons, their grandsons, their great grandsons. He was talking about all the names.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, yeah, the memories are extremely, I mean, we can't even, I mean, put into our conception saying that, yeah, this is not. Actually, I mean, I was reading recently one place, and I mean, people might say it is not right. So in the Bhagavatam, it is talked about Guptas, Mauryas. So Mauryas came just before, I think, I don't know if I'm right, maybe 300 BC, I guess.
I think at
Maybe
the time of Buddha, probably
hmm?
Buddha's time, right?
Yeah, just before I think.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, maybe Radha Kunj Bihar Prabhu, maybe remember better. So, but yeah, I think Bhagavatam was in the Bhagavatam. It is mentioned about all the dynasties. I mean, until there, I just read it. Maybe after that, also some generations might have mentioned.
Yeah.
So, right? I mean, it's talking about the future. So, right?
Yes. Yes. Certainly. Yeah. Vasudeva is a Trikalagya.
Yeah.
So many aspects of Kali Yuga, how it is about to go unfold, also it is mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. And I also don't know, like maybe the Maharaj is described like fifth canto, there is a creation described again in
Yes. Yeah.
10th, sorry, fifth, not fifth canto, fifth chapter of third canto. And again, now 10th chapter, again creation is described. So maybe he's dividing
Counting
those
all
as,
those.
yeah, it's a kind of a similar kind of message, a similar kind of, but there it is a Mahavishnu does. And here it is
Yeah.
a Garbhoda Gashaya Vishnu does, something like that. There is a slight variations every time this topic comes. Uh, but yeah, and 7 times in second and third canto together.
Oh,
And
only second and third canto 7 times, huh?
yes, and 11th
Oh,
canto 2 times. Yeah. So that's what it's a great thing. I don't have right now time or energy, but it's good to know where are the specifically how differently it is mentioned, and it's a nice topic, I think, too.
okay.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. As usual, very detailed, very meticulous, and you make it chewable for somebody like me, So thank you so much. And even, the discussions that you were having, uh, Prabhuji, I know most of you have actually crossed third canto. I'm just at the end of third canto. And yeah, you're right. Creation comes multiple times. I didn't count, but I am aware of that. What I see is each time the basic principles are the same, but the view is different. depending on where you are viewing it from, each time it has slightly different viewpoint. That is one thing, and it's progressively more and more, what do you say, detailed. So the first time when we read the creation, it's all about the basics. Second time, the 101 is done. So you're going to take to the next level. Actually, when the next time it comes up, uh, again, particularly when Karmu Muni is explaining to Devahuti, also it will come up, and then it's much more deeper, because some of the basic things he won't explain, and he will just jump to the next level, and he'll explain. So it's like, when we read about certain topics, math and science, and some of these in our 6th and 7th class, then again we'll read it in our 10th, 11th and 12th. Then again, when you go to graduation, you'll read it, and then again when you go to masters, you'll read it. It's very similar to that. So it depends how much effort we are willing to put into it. So so the one thing that you mentioned, you went back to chapter 5 and you mentioned certain things. Now, just want to elaborate on the same thing that you were talking about. In the 5th chapter, there are verses which are specifically like, the Hiranyagarbha is created and it is laying there dormant for, 1,000 celestial years.
Yeah.
And this is inertia, Prabhuji. We later, somebody discovers it and names it after himself, as if he created all the, things. But it's actually inertia, Then the Lord glances, and when he glances, what is he doing? He's infusing, forces or energies from outside, And when he does that, that is when the stirring happens. It's so clearly explained in those verses. The stirring happens, and the different materials start separating out, and all of that. That is the law of like motion. Like the thing in inertia stays in inertia until and unless an external force acts on it. If you look at it, whatever we are talking in physics is coming exactly from that. But we still say, oh, I discovered it. And now this is basic what do you say, gravity. Then special theory of gravitation, Einstein. That comes up a little later when Brahma starts creating the different planetary systems. It's explained how he creates 3 categories of planetary systems, in which he'll create 14 types of planetary systems. Yes. Then actually in the next chapter, we'll talk about the time, how to calculate time, duration, and other things. And that also, that actually establishes special theory of relativity. So, what did our rishis and munis do? They took these things. Out of this came Ayurveda. That is why Ayurveda, it's called Veda. Then we also have Surya Siddhanta, which is astronomy and time calculation and stuff like that. Shushruta Samhita. All of these scientific texts, where did they come from? They all come from, revealed sources. They're all being revealed here, and that is what they take and they build up. That is why they are perfect. If they did research and try to get there, I don't think, they would have had a good system. Instead, it would be like how the modern system is. You do clinical trials for 5 years, then you take it out into the market, and suddenly you have to withdraw it, or you still falsely claim, oh, I have the best, blah, 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 all of that. So that is, that is one of the other thing is, we, like I said, although all of this is revealed, we refuse to believe it, and we say, oh, modern scientists are inventing stuff. So that is why it is done so many times. In spite of that, we refuse to accept. That is the thing. The second thing you were talking about, how the questions are remembered and other things, which is wonderful, Prabhuji. Yeah, all our Puranas and these things are all completely conversational. People are asking questions. What comes to my mind is Ashtavadanis and Shatavadanis. This is a system which still lives in Karnataka and Andhra. I don't know if it is there in any other part of the country, where these are scholars around whom there are people, other scholars sitting, and they start asking questions in random order on random topics. And the Avadhani is supposed to remember the exact order and the topic fully. And then after the questions are all finished, he will start, the Avadani will start answering it in the same order. First, by saying the name of the person who asked the question, what was the question, he'll repeat it, and then he'll answer the topic. So on until all the questions that were asked. So, it's amazing. People who follow the Shastras, they have the capability. It is otherwise we'll have to depend on Google for everything.
Yeah.
And the final comment was about they're mentioning genealogies and stuff like that. There is Bhavishya Purana, where I think it was at the time of Vajranabha or some other point, writing of these scriptures stopped. But then in that stage they write the next 100 generations who is going to come, and it has been verified that the 100 generation of the dynasties are completely correct and valid. So I'll stop there, Prabhuji, but wonderful class and wonderful discussion. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much for adding so many beautiful points for the creation. And I was thinking maybe they have smartphones inbuilt in their consciousness, not physically like right now. Our at least my memory is in the smartphone, not in here. For them,
Actually, by the smart, yeah, the phone became smart. We became the other side.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were used to remember the phone numbers, right? Earlier,
Yeah.
at least maybe 10 or 20 or 30. Now we don't remember even a couple of numbers more than that.
No, Prabhuji, with that we have also forgotten how to remember people's names, their faces.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to go back to my contact list and check out. So,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
another thing that came to my mind is, again, maybe I'm boring everyone with this. In the 70s and 80s, there was an Indian scientist who actually discovered the black hole. Chandrasekhar, we all know. Then it's also known as Chandrasekhar limit, because black holes cannot be directly identified. They can be identified only through the event horizon. At that point of time, talk of singularity and all of that, how metaphysics and physics is going to converge. And the whole idea was there is going to be only one black hole at that point of time. And even that was not discovered, but that was estimated, calculated, and predicted. And then they discovered one black hole, and the scientific community was gaga with it. Today there are hundreds and thousands of black holes within our own galaxy. Forget about other galaxies. And they have matter, and they have they used to have antimatter, now they have dark matter. So they're twisting themselves, turning into, tying themselves up in so many knots, but they're not able to explain. So this I can do it will not do. Sometimes revealed knowledge, not sometimes revealed knowledge is always better, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much. So, and I was appreciating that how just like in the verse, how Maitreya Muni got enlivened. So otherwise, if you see the topics of creation by themselves, is really boring and dry. But our acharyas and Prabhupada and current teachers, they make it more interesting. They give some kind of, like you were saying, matter to chew, right? So we keep on our consciousness invested in that. Otherwise, why even bother, right? So I am appreciating that ecosystem where we are able to, even though it's dry, we have some leads to focus on and pursue it and learn, right? More and more. Every time I learn little bit, inch forward. So thank you very much for that. Hare Krishna. So with that, it's already 8:30. We'll stop here. Thank you very much again, devotees, for joining this Saturday morning Srimad Bhagavatam reading. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare